Hey, Rick, what did you eat last night?
I made a quinoa bake, Kate DeVore.
Quinoa bake, eh?
Yes, and do you know why I was able to bake my quinoa? Because I got a brand new cooking item from a dear friend in Chicago. That would be you.
Yay, Dutch oven.
Dutch oven, yeah. So it was really super simple. So I basically took the quinoa, put it in the bottom of the Dutch oven, put in some vegetable broth, and then on top of that, I layered kale, and then I layered sun-dried tomato, and then I layered red onion, and then I just put salt and pepper in, let it bake. And it's weird because when I baked it, I thought, oh, this doesn't really have a lot of flavor or seasoning going in. And this was an initial recipe I was trying. So I thought, I'm going to try it. So I did. And my first couple bites, I'm like, oh, this doesn't have a lot of flavor. But by the end of it, I was like, oh, this is what's so interesting is when you eat food that's not seasoned or overly seasoned or flavored, you really are like getting the flavors. Because I'm like, oh, this is what kale tastes like.
Totally.
You know?
I do know. I've made a few things like that, and they often involve quinoa, actually, with vegetables, with very little else going on, and there is something really appealing about the simplicity of that.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Wait, so it was raw quinoa, I'm assuming?
Raw quinoa,
and then the
right
liquid
there.
Just went into the whole thing.
Yeah,
and did you
just pour
stir
it
it all
bottom.
up, or did you layer it?
I layered it and let it bake, and then afterwards I stirred it up.
Yeah, cool.
Perfectly awesome.
All right.
How about you?
I also made a grain dish, but mine was based with farro.
Ooh.
Which I'm just discovering. So farro is another ancient grain. They call quinoa an ancient grain, even though it's a seed, but farro is wheat. So unlike quinoa, it's not gluten-free, but it is a healthy grain, they say, and has good protein and good fiber and all of that stuff. And I made a farroto, which is a risotto, but using farro instead.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and it is delicious. Oh my goodness. I really like, the closest analogy I think I could come up with is probably brown rice in flavor. It has a kind of nutty flavor like brown rice does, but it's a little chewier. It's got more texture. It's more toothsome. And I actually really like that. So it felt really comforting to eat, and you felt like you were really eating something because you had to chew it a little bit. So I really, really dug it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. I am Rick Fiore.
And I'm Kate DeVore.
And this is our ongoing conversation about food, health, weight management, and our endeavor to be and stay healthy in a really tasty world.
With love, kindness, and compassion towards ourselves and others.
Today's episode, we are so excited to welcome to the podcast, Kristi Churchvara. Kristi is a certified health and lifestyle coach who studied at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York. Her current focus is helping others clean out their pantry and fridge to distinguish the good, the bad, and the ugly, and restocking it with fantastic staples. Kristi is here today to talk to us about labels. Those damn labels! Welcome, Kristi.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, we're so excited to have you. So, Kristi, what did you eat last night?
Oh, what did I eat? Let me think. Oh, yes. I had organic chicken, roasted with some seasoning, paprika, onion, garlic powder, steamed spaghetti squash with drizzle of fresh lemon and some chopped fresh parsley and cayenne. And then just a side salad of baby spinach and chopped cucumber with some olive oil. There you go.
Oh, my God. You are perfect.
That sounds delicious.
It's like right out of the textbooks.
It is. I'm a healthy foodie. What do you say about that, you know?
It's good that you practice what you preach.
I do. And just to tie that in, the only thing that I ate yesterday that had a label was the chicken. So there. And we'll talk about that probably during the podcast.
Nice.
We will.
So you describe yourself as an integrative nutrition, health, and lifestyle coach. What does that mean?
Good question. I get that a lot.
We're hard hitting here.
I know. I mean, traditionally, health coaches, we work with eating and exercise. That's most where people come to us for the most help. But what I do is we also explore other areas of your life. What's impacting those bad choices of your eating habits? How are your relationships with your spouse, with your your kids, your parents, how are your finances, how is your work relationship, your spirituality, your creativity. So it all has to come together. It's all integrated. Your whole life is integrated and they all ebb and flow. So that's where the integration comes to. People come for like, I need to lose 10, 20 pounds. And I'm just like, okay, what else is going on in your life that's making you, kind of stuff your face and hiding your feelings? So we deal with a lot of those other aspects, and that's where the integrated part of it. And we make slow steps to change those patterns and get a lot of education.
That's really making someone look at their whole life. That's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is.
That's cool. Makes sense, right? To be holistic in it.
Yeah.
So our major topic today is food labeling. So the first question is, what are some of the most common ways that you see us as consumers being misled by sneaky bastards in terms of how they label their food?
Yeah, I forgot to ask what was the level of words that we could use.
Yeah.
We're pushing the boundary on this one because labels piss us off.
Hey, me too. I've done away with labels for a very long time because they confuse me, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But consumers really get sucked in to the marketing words of all natural and zero fat and all that stuff. And I mean, I even get, on occasion, like if I'm not in my routine or if I'm traveling, it's like you are, brainwashed in the marketing of the labeling on the front of the products a lot of times. So, the thing that I really push and try to encourage is, try to ignore most of those hype labels, and we need to look at the ingredients. Let's look at the ingredients of the food and see what we're dealing with there.
What's the biggest hype label you think is out there?
Oh, the old one used to be, zero fat. And that was the no fat craze in the 80s when, we were trying to pinpoint an industry. Like I think it really was the sugar industry that paid them off to make the fat the fall guy. And, I remember it. I was 19 and I was on the medical weight loss clinic diet, and they took fat. They totally stripped fat out of my diet. And you need the fat. Your brain needs the fat. You need the cholesterol. You need the fat.
Yeah. And if it says zero fat, is it really zero fat? So the first question is, do you want zero fat? Which usually the answer is no, not necessarily. But can they lie? Or if it says there's zero fat, is there really zero fat or zero sugar?
Yeah. I mean, as far as the zero goes, zero fat, zero sugar to me kind of screams zero nutrition. The sugar.
Taste.
It's yeah, right. But sometimes that sugar is substituted with, artificial sweeteners, and that's a whole nother topic that we could do a whole nother podcast on, which is no bueno. Mm-hmm. So I think it's still fading into the marketing piece of the labeling. Again, let's focus on ingredients and not those numbers, because that's important.
So, Kristi, how do you stay healthy in a really tasty world?
It's a great question. I love it. So when I feel like I'm starting to falter, I definitely go to a staple detox, 10-day detox cleanse that I personally do. I do it every season. I also, I kind of look where I'm off balanced in my integrative, and it's usually that I haven't maybe touched base with my close peeps, and try to build those, go out and have some herbal tea or do something like that. I get out the door and I start walking and infusing that exercise for me. So for me, the detox cleanse is great because boom, like within 2 days, I'm already back on track, and it's a way for me to connect back to the ground and to the food source.
How do you stay healthy in the tasty world with love, kindness, and compassion toward yourself and others?
No judgments. I know that everybody, just having an understanding that everybody has a struggle in their life. And I'm a very huge component of self-love. That's the first thing I usually work with on as clients is self-love, because if you don't have self-love, then why are you going to treat yourself well, and why are you going to eat healthy if you don't even love yourself? I mean, it basically comes down to that. Really, you're the only person to count on when it's when you're on your deathbed. You're the only one inside that you can count on and have peace with. So having self-love is just a major thing. And when you have self-love, it spreads onto your community and your neighbors and all that good stuff.
So let's jump to all natural. So what does all natural actually mean?
Well, all natural, really, the FDA has this long-standing policy in food labeling, and they really consider it to be nothing artificial and synthetic, including color additives or flavorings. But that's where they kind of stopped. They didn't take it to the next step. I'm sure their intentions were good when they originally, set that standard.
Of course they were. It's the government.
Of course.
Their intentions were good.
Yes. But, we go on. They never took into consideration, the methods of the way the food is grown, like with pesticides, or if GMOs were introduced. Again, another podcast. Yeah. So it's, again, the basics of it, artificial or synthetic, nothing's been added, but you really have to do a little bit deeper, and you can find that information under the ingredients. And I mean, if you take away anything from today's podcast, you're going to learn to read your ingredients on this label.
Excellent. 1 or 2 good take homes is my favorite. So can you list for us some things that are all natural, but that we still don't want to be eating a lot of? Like, for example, sugar is all natural, right?
Yeah, it is all natural. Again, it's like, where are your health concerns? And that's one bad thing about labels is they're so generic, and everybody is individual. And that's huge. That's one of the big things as health coaches is we really, one person's food could be a superfood, and the other person, it could be like horrible for them. I mean, they could have reactions. So, as far as sugar being natural, everything in moderation. I always hated that freaking saying. I still hate it, and I can't believe I'm using it, but I think it's my own. I keep saying it to myself.
And Kristi, as you're saying it here, I'm thinking, I can't believe I have to hear this again.
I know. I really freaking hate it. I've really been trying to come up with a new saying for that, because and when people say moderation, but all natural. Well, let's break down what the natural sugars are. There's, raw honey. That's really not processed.
Yeah.
Cane sugar, but that's kind of processed. It's
right.
It's natural. There was at one point in time, there was some petitions going around where the ingredients was high corn fructose syrup, right? So it starts with corn. That's a whole product. That's natural, right? But through the process, it becomes this thing, synthetic you don't even realize. And because it started off as corn and a whole food, that they slapped a natural label on it.
Yeah, I was looking at peanut butters the other day, and the one that was labeled all natural, and it had a brown label that looked very unfun. So you thought surely this was going to be the healthier version instead of the red and green label that looked more cheerful. But the only difference was that the all natural one had ever so slightly less sodium, but it had more sugar and more fat, I think. Like it was not better in any way. And I was so angry at their sneakiness.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's no percentage wise as to being able to call it natural. I mean, it's just kind of like the organic label, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about that a little bit, but some farmers can put an organic
Let's talk
label.
About it now. Yeah. What does that mean? Called organic?
Yeah, like the organic label. I mean, a farmer can say it's organic, and you have to trust them. But now if it's USDA certified, that's when they actually get audited once a year to make sure that they are on point, with their T's crossed and their I's dotted. But to actually put organic on your label,
anyone can hang a shingle out, it sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah, they can. But the certified organic is the one that you really,
Okay.
the USDA certified organic is the humdinger. But I mean, really, organic is simply, as far as produce goes, it's ingredients that are grown without pesticides and synthetic fertilizers, no GMOs, genetically modified organisms. And then as meat goes, the animals, that they're not produced with any antibiotics or growth hormones.
Okay, let's talk about chicken for a minute.
Okay, chickies.
So we might see, well, first of all, we see all natural chicken, right? But like that is all chicken. Chicken is a natural thing, right? It's an animal. So
Yeah.
So cage-free, free range, Amish. These
Jehovah's
are the
Witness
labels that I
eggs.
see. What'd you say, Rick?
Jehovah's Witness eggs also.
Chickens, right? Yeah. So like what are those? Because my understanding is it's not necessarily, you can't really count on that being a good thing. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like cage free and free range are pretty similar. They're kind of red flags in my opinion. I mean, cage free means that, the girls are not in a cage. However, they could be cramped, and it's just that they have some type of covering, and usually with no space to outside. And they're usually cramped, and they're stepping on each other's poop and their little feet and whatnot. And it's not a great place to live. And then free range is really not any better. It only means that the birds have access to the outdoors, and that could be a peephole, or it could just be like this square where their body can't fit through. It's not like they're like, here, let's go out and play. So
they're not frolicking, is what you're saying.
And those commercials where everybody's grazing and you want to have that feel good sensation, not in conventional. Yeah. But the good news is there is definitely an organization that is the Humane Farm Animal Care. Do you know their logo, the green logo?
No.
I've seen it on eggs.
Yeah, eggs. It started probably about 10 years ago. So they're really starting to become the gold standard. And they're really the nonprofit certification organization that really is dedicated to improve the lives of farm animals in the food production from birth through slaughter.
The Lord's work they're doing.
Yeah, they really are. So they've actually come up with two of their labels, which is Certified Humane Free Range and Certified Humane Pasture Raised. And their free range is basically each chicken gets about 2 square feet of space. They must be outdoors for at least 6 hours a day. And obviously they have to have some protection for weather. And then the certified humane pasture raised, that's usually a bigger flock, like 1,000 birds in like a 2.5 acre radius. And birds get like 108 feet per bird.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they have to be outdoor all year round, with the exception of like, the weather, depending on where they're at, especially here, in the Midwest and out east. But, they actually have to have like some type of housing for predators and inclement weather. So, seeing those two labels, you can rest assured that the chickens are having a good life. And I don't know about you, but I can really taste the difference.
I can taste the difference, and I care very deeply that the animals were raised humanely. I have never seen those labels on chicken, though. Where do you get that?
Yeah, I just started seeing them. I shop so many different places.
Okay.
But I mean, Kate in Chicago, Fresh Time, I'm there a lot.
Okay.
So it could be there that I've seen it. And again, you need to talk to the butcher. You need to talk to the people that are bringing this food in and really getting to start asking them questions and voice your concern of like, hey, I'm really concerned of where you're bringing this food in. I try to pick places like independent little stores that really care about what they put on their shelves, and it's very sustainable. Just like, as a consumer, you feel that there's definitely some store owners out there that will that feel the same way and want to for the consumers.
Does organic mean anything on a chicken label? What does organic on a chicken
label? The organic
mean?
label, like we talked about before, kind of spans the same.
Got it. So it doesn't mean they got to frolic just because it's organic.
Yeah. No.
Okay. Okay.
Tough times.
Yeah. And Amish doesn't mean anything, right? Except that the people were Amish.
Well, the Amish, I kind of got sucked into the Amish thing for a while as I was going through my learning process. But, you think the Amish, they do things with integrity in the old-fashioned way. And I'm sure there's definitely some organic farms out there. I mean, I know Miller Farms is prevalent here. They're out of Indiana.
Are they a good one?
Yeah, they are a good one.
Good. That's the kind I buy. So shwoo.
Yeah. Well, that's Midwest, right?
Because that's easy to find too. I can get that locally.
But at the same time, they're not totally. They still feed their chickens grain and soybean, and that's the next level people need to go to if they really care about their health. To be honest with you,
is what's your food eating?
I have a local store here. It's 3 blocks away. They do they bring in a lot of the Amish, but the son, it's a mother and son, or it's like family raised. And the son's like, we even go in to find out what the feed is. We're so concerned about that aspect of it. We don't like to put anything on our shelves, that is damaging to a consumer.
That's right.
It's way cool.
And I'm also taking away from this, am I right, that the smaller the farm doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing everything correctly? Because I sometimes associate, Amish or Jehovah's Witness.
Or they say small family farm.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's no guarantee either, because I actually have thought that. I'm like, I'll buy from the small family farm people.
Exactly. No, it doesn't. I mean, and there's definitely some bigger farms doing great sustainable farming too. So it holds true for the opposite. It's there's definitely like co-ops, and you can do, the food banking where you can actually go to these farms. You can work on the farm, kind of learn practices and see where your food's coming from. Yes, it's a little bit more money, but in the long run, to me, it kind of just equals out. You don't have to pay for all the prescription drugs.
Yeah, no doubt.
Doctor's visits and all that good stuff. Hey, I'm proud. I'm going to be 49 in like 30 days, and I'm knocking on my veneer right now, and I'm not on prescription drugs.
You go, girl.
So if we start talking about grass-fed beef, is this? I guess I'm asking, can we talk about that? Is that going to be the same sort of dynamic as that we just talked about with the chicken?
Yeah, it's kind of like, a good resource is humanitarian.org. I don't know if you can post that up on your podcast or
website.
Website. But they have great resource there. But, I was a little confused for a long time between grass-fed and pasture-raised on the beef aspect of it. Because, I mean, cows, they typically, they're grass. They love to graze on grass, all different sorts of grass. And even like they graze on the grass of a grain. They don't eat the grain, but the grasses of it. So, the cow has 4 stomachs. Very interesting of how they just digest food. But, grass-fed animals, the cows, they eat the grass, they eat the hay. But some farming, towards the end of the span before slaughter, they'll feed them grain to save money, to bulk them up or whatever. If you want to make sure that doesn't happen, you're looking for 100% grass-fed. And then pasture-raised is, it's the same thing. They have the outdoors to graze, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 100%. They could have fed supplement grain, especially in the winter or something like that. So again, it's getting to know your farmer, where your food's coming from. But grass-fed, I used to be like on the pro pasture-raised, and then I kind of started tilting back to, the 100% grass-fed or grass-fed.
Pasture-raised seems a little bit more casual to me, sort of the way generally organic is very casual. They sort of, in my head right now, they're resonating in the same place.
What about fish? What word should we look for? Or what word should we run away from with tuna, salmon, all those things that are potentially going to kill us or whatever?
All of it. No, fish is a tough one, man. That industry, wow. So the two things that I totally run away from is coloring added and farm raised. Those are two big ones that I run away from.
Because farm raised seems like it's just, chickens and water. It's the same idea.
It's
They're all
the
right.
Same, Rick, you hit it right on the head. That's exactly what it is. They're crowded.
Crammed.
Crammed. It's just not
probably not enough to drink.
Living environment. Yeah, right. And a lot of chemicals going in that water to keep it from not being, filled with contaminants and stuff like that. But those are the two things that I, look for if I'm purchasing that. I mean, tuna, I have to ask, why do you want tuna anyway? Tuna is like a larger fish. It has a lot of mercury in it type of thing. Unless you're just like hankering for some tuna once in a blue moon.
Honestly, for me,
cool.
because, I don't eat meat, but I hadn't eaten meat for a while, but I started bringing fish back into it just as like a clean, lean, accessible protein source. So I actually eat tuna for convenience sake. It's easy and it's accessible. And I definitely have started monitoring how often I have it. Like, it's definitely like a once a week and a half for me kind of thing.
Yeah. As far as the better fishes probably to eat it's the smaller ones. It's the herring, it's the sardines is a good replacement for tuna and anchovies because they're smaller fish. They have a smaller lifespan, so they have the less mercury in it. And just bonus tip for you, if you are eating fish, try to take some cracked cell chlorella every time you eat fish because that is a detoxifier. It will bind to the mercury and it'll capture it and it will eliminate it from your body. So That's a really huge one for me. There's the MSC, which is the Marine Stewardship Council. They have a great label. They're like the humane label. They set the standard for sustainability to make sure a certain species is not being pulled out of the ocean too much at one given time. So something, if you can look for that label, would be fantastic. To me, that's still like farm catching. And again, that's like you have to do your research. I was in the grocery store a couple months ago and I found a new label and I'm sitting in the aisle. I'm trying to read up on it and see, what they're all about, what their story is. And if I can connect it to some of these labeling companies that, they're the ones that are doing all the, checks and balances for us because, we're just little consumers. We can't do it all, but, you still have to do some research. Right. On our own. The Poland cod, I think that's a great label.
Is wild generally safe if it says wild?
I would, it's such a huge industry. For me, I go by it. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I'll go by, I like Wild Planet. I think they're a decent label. I didn't preface this in the beginning of the podcast, but it's like you still, even if I tell you something, you still have to do your own research. You can't expect somebody to give you all the answers type of thing. It might be right for me and it might be different for you. It goes back to that individuality. And a lot of the fishery, it's what kind of food do you want to be eating and how it wants to be caught. But because fishing, that industry, how can they make money if it's, by a pole?
Totally.
Type of thing. And then, and then the other thing we need to consider is us as consumers, they've exploded like this because we've demanded it. We don't even think of where this food comes from. So it's really getting in touch with our food source again and having a little bit of heart there. And we really don't need as much food as we eat to survive. Better that we have less.
Isn't that the truth?
It really is.
That is certainly true. So do you have any final tips on interpreting food labeling that we haven't asked you about yet?
If we can go back to the ingredient part of the label, typically 5 ingredients or less is a decent product. If you don't know what the product is, if the ingredient, look it up. Start doing some research on it. That's the only way you're going to get knowledgeable on it. Mm-hmm. And the ingredients that are listed first are the most prevalent in that product. Keep this in mind for your listeners is, nutrition is fairly a new science in the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. It's exciting and scary at the same time. And we're just starting to scratch the surface of what the power of nutrition is.
Well said. What is the best piece of advice you have ever gotten about food and wellness?
I think the best piece of advice was basically the best food to choose does not have a label, and to not strive for balance, because balance is zero if you look at it on a scale, but just to strive for like the ebb and flow of and listening to your body. Well
said.
So meaning if one day things don't go so great, then the next day you sort of make up for it. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that, and if, a lot of people just say resolutions in the beginning of the year. I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat healthy, and boom, boom, boom. And that's the only thing you're focused on. And then you miss a day. And then you miss another day. Well, because something needed your attention probably. Mm-hmm. So it's like to be kind and gentle to yourself, recognize that. And you can't be 100% at one thing all the time. There's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. It comes in and you have to recognize that, appreciate it, and then just get back on it when it comes back in the wave, Yeah. It's really that. I mean, it's so simple. Life is really simple. We just make it more freaking complicated than it is.
Well, simple doesn't mean easy, though, right? Just because it's simple. Kristi, what 5 items are always on your grocery list and why?
Only 5?
Only 5. This is the big 5.
You will be monitored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Avocado.
Good.
A half to a full avocado, usually a day.
Awesome.
I eat it from morning to night, whatever. The fat, fiber, has really good nutrients for your eyes. And I just love the way it tastes. Onions, it's my number one vegetable. Yellow onion, sauteed onions is my favorite smell in the whole wide world. That's it. Put it on a baked potato. It just elevates any kind of food. Fabulous. Yep. And I swear I don't get sick because I eat so many onions. Every day. This is the stuff I eat every day. Good. Lemons or limes. Lemons it's a really good alkaline source. You can put it on dressings and water and the zest and just so many good nutrients on that. Leafy greens, to me, green is vitality. You got to have green in your life every day. And I usually rotate out my greens, Today this week it's baby spinach. Tomorrow next week will be the power greens. The following might be, Swiss chard or something like that. Because you always want to rotate. You don't want them to get stuck. Eggs. They're perfect. They're easy. They're quick. Good nutrition all the way around.
All right. That's 5. That's 5.
Oh, no. Come on. Can I have a free 6er?
Okay.
Yes.
A bonus.
Coconut oil.
Just because I'm dying to know.
What was it, Kristi?
Coconut oil.
Oh. Why?
Go.
Oh, I bathe in it. I slather it on my body. I eat it. I cook with it. It's just, we are just rediscovering all the amazing benefits of coconut oil. Just note that a lot of coconut oils, there is difference. Taste them and stay away from refined coconut oil. You want the good, thick white stuff, organic.
Well, Kristi, thank you so much
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Well, we'll have Kristi's information up on our website, which is youwon'tbelievewhatIate.com. And remember, if you want to tell us what you ate last night, and if you have any questions or comments, by all means, email them to us at youwon'tbelievewhatIate@gmail.com. Also, remember, you have a phone, you can make an auto recording and send it in, and maybe we'll be able to play it on the podcast.
Maybe we will. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at You Won't Believe What I Ate. So please do. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Thanks.